Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson. Today, we're listening to The Most Dangerous Game.
We are on Hopewell Valley Golf Course in Hopewell, New Jersey. The date was March 5th, 1989. We were playing golf, and we were on the seventh hole, which is a par five. When I came to this spot here, I just turned to the left, and there was this hen. She had no bottom jaw. Every one of her teeth were hacked out, except for the top one and a half, which were cracked. So that was what was facing up at me.
For years, this is all police had to go on, a forensic reconstruction of the woman's dismembered head. Now police have identified her as 25-year-old Heidi Balch, described by authorities as a drug-addicted prostitute and the first victim of convicted serial killer Joel Rifkin.
You could say it was pretty traumatic. I'm a father. Your worst nightmare is having anything happen to your children. You don't expect to see that. You're looking for a little white golf ball, not a human head.
Rachel and I set out to make a documentary about one of the most baffling cases of serial murder in our time, that of the Long Island serial killer, aka Lisk.
A case that only grows grislier with each discovery.
But what we uncovered went beyond our worst nightmares.
I remember the first call he said to her, "Are you a whore like your sister?"
Where should we go find him? Where should we look?
On that page. Same way you found us.
Our journey has led us here, to someone using the Suffolk County Police's IP address, who suggested this mysterious person is the Long Island serial killer.
What this edit did was change it from the Gilgo killer to Joe Foti.
Either someone has an axe finger name,
Or there's a guy who believes it's him who works in Suffolk County PD, and they're putting it up there, even though they can't prove it. The post had raised enough suspicion for all of us, including some of the victims' family members, to investigate further.
Are you in my house tonight?
yes. We were looking for you.
Is that a good thing to do?
But the only way to know for sure was to play this voice for Amanda, the sister of Melissa Bartholomew, because it's believed Liz called Amanda to taunt her with details of her sister's death. Do you think if we played it for you, you could remember his voice?
Possibly.
You just press play.
I don't know. I feel like he has like too strong of a New York accent, but he could have been trying to hide that when he called me too, so it's like, I don't think so.
Don't think so. You may be the key.
I know, unfortunately.
And the reason why you called me.
I have no idea. You're asking me the same questions I ask myself every day. I wish I knew his intentions.
Although Amanda didn't recognize this voice,
Thank you.
the fact still remains that someone, using Suffolk County Police's IP address, posted this name. Was it a prank, a vendetta, or something more? We may never know. Looking at the 10 bodies found along Ocean Parkway, a case sparked by a missing escort named Shannon Gilbert, Rachel and I have retraced the steps of Amberlynn Costello and Melissa Bartholomew, two of the Gilgo Beach Four, or GB4, the only four victims found wrapped in burlap. Which brings us to Megan Warren. A case as tragic as it is frustrating. Because if we had all paid just a little more attention to this one lost girl, there's a chance Rachel and I wouldn't be here today. Megan's tale begins with the Long Island Press, a small local paper that ran a story about her disappearance.
The end of summer 2010, one of our reporters picked up on this missing person, Megan Waterman. But because she was a prostitute, her case kind of got swept under the rug and didn't get the attention it deserved, which is why we decided to hold on.
The story was called Lost Girls. When women go missing on Long Island, some matter. Prostitutes don't. The article profiled Megan, who on June 5, 2010, was last seen walking out of the Hop Hog Holiday Inn at 1:30 a.m.
With no wallet, no keys, no money, no phone.
Right.
That was all blown back in her hotel room.
Looking at the facts, it would seem immediately apparent that something was wrong.
I know my daughter. Her phone was glued to her ear. She wouldn't even go to the bathroom without her cell phone up to her ear. She had to have met this person at least 5 or 6 times to let her guard down enough to walk out of the hotel without her cell phone. And when I called the Suffolk County Police Department, they should have went to the hotel that day. It took Suffolk County a month before they did anything. They don't care about the sex world. They just think they're dirty, scummy people. If they jumped on it right in the beginning, I'm sure this case would have been solved.
Just 6 weeks after Lost Girls was published, Megan's body was discovered on Ocean Parkway, at which point the mainstream press came running.
We have a serial killer that is stalking local and tourists alike.
This could be a thrill killer. This could be someone who's engaging in sex attacks.
Who is the mystery killer dubbed the Long Island Seaside Sicko?
So few had cared about Megan's disappearance until she became a victim in one of the most publicized serial killer cases in over a decade, at which point everyone would finally know her name. We have now come to the final member of the Gilgo Beach Four, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, who disappeared on July 9th, 2007. Maureen was actually the first of these women to go missing, which for amateur profiler Peter Brent is an important detail in solving this mystery.
If you want to fight Liz, you have to go back to the first murder you know about. Maureen Brainerd Barnes. That's your best chance. The further you go back, the earlier you find him in his former face. This is where he leaves the clues. This is where he finds himself. Because the less experienced he is, the higher is the probability he did something wrong.
But going back to Liz's first murder also meant going back to here, Times Square. And even though many complain its grittiness is gone, the sex trade is still here, if you know where to look. Maureen had come down from Connecticut to work as an escort at this hotel. She arrived with another escort, a friend named Sarah Carnes.
I met Maureen when we were telemarketers. She sat in a cubicle that was attached to mine, so we'd always be throwing over the freaking wall, and we got in trouble a lot of times because we just clicked.
So how easy was it to get into that world?
It was so easy. Just need a digital camera and access to the internet, and that's it.
After a slow weekend, Sarah went back to Connecticut while Maureen stayed behind. Then on Sunday night, Maureen left her hotel and went down these steps in Penn Station to wait for the next train back home.
You were the last person I ever speak to.
Yes. She called me from her cell phone at Penn Station. She was taking a train home. She said she had to walk out to go have a cigarette.
Do we know what happened after that?
No. It's like she vanished. I think she was stalked by someone that she knew before as a client. And he was basically following her and took her.
If Melissa was right, maybe the killer lured her sister outside, or waited until she emerged for a smoke. We do know, however, that Maureen's cell pinged to a tower near Gilgo Beach. If Liz did bring her all the way out there, he would need a car parked close to Penn Station, which meant he was well prepared. But as Rachel and I would soon discover, Peter was right. Liz did make a mistake. The same one he would make with Amanda Bartholomew. Web sleuth Peter Brent has always believed that Lisk may have made a mistake during his abduction of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Initially, Rachel and I had assumed this mistake was made in the moments leading up to Maureen's disappearance, but little did we know we'd actually find it in the days after.
She had been missing exactly 2 weeks to the day, and I got a block call. So I answered and I said, hello? And he goes, you're from Connecticut? And I said, yes. He said, do you happen to know Marie? She's got a tattoo on her right arm in red. It says Nicole or something.
Tattooed on Maureen's arm was the name of her daughter, Nicolette.
And I said, that's my friend. She's been missing for 2 weeks. He said she's fine. He just saw her. She's staying in a whorehouse in Queens. Why would she be staying at a whorehouse? She's independent. Can you give me the address? Well, I don't know it offhand. Can you call me back? I need to tell the cops. Yeah, I'll call you back. Never did. Sorry. I do believe it was him I talked to.
If Liz did make this call, it reveals two telling clues. First, the word whore, which we know had been spoken by Lisk months later in his call to Amanda.
On another call, he asked, are you going to be a whore like your sister?
And then the second clue, the mention of Queens. Why did Lisk choose that location? Could this be the one personal detail that just might lead police right to his door? Looking at the Gilgo Beach 4, we know all 4 women were neatly laid out, approximately 500 feet apart. However, there are 6 other victims who are also connected by their disposal along Ocean Parkway. And while most remain unidentified, there was still much to learn from how and why the killer positioned them as he did. Which brings us to the next chapter of our story, when police would discover Fire Island Jane Doe.
We found what appeared to be and was a human skull off the side of the road.
6 miles west of where the GB4 were found, police unearthed a female skull. Through DNA, the skull was matched to a pair of severed legs found in neighboring Fire Island in 1996. Today we know that Fire Island Jane Doe is Caucasian, 35 to 50 years of age, and her torso and hands remain missing. Yet her legs being found in 1996 raises an important question. Was this proof that Lisk has been active for over 20 years? Or evidence of something else? And then, found less than a quarter mile away from Fire Island Jane Doe, was the mystery of Jane Doe number 3. I'm just looking for like some sort of clearing. There's no memorial. Yeah.
You know, if she had a family and they knew she was here, they would come out, they'd put a cross. That didn't happen.
Yeah. On April 11, 2011, police discovered a dismembered skeleton wearing 2 gold bracelets inside a plastic bag. she's found here 7 miles from all the other bodies.
What's interesting is right here is the county line. On this side is Nassau, on this side is Suffolk County.
He's basically dismembering bodies and throwing some in Suffolk County and some in Nassau County.
Leading to a lot of confusion.
He knows what he's doing. The tragedy here is that they were able to make a DNA match from this woman, Jane Doe number 3, to this unidentified child found basically 7 miles away. On the opposite end of this burial ground, police unearthed a female toddler wearing jewelry similar to her mother's.
Like, it's not enough for him to kill a child, but to take that child away from his mother, he could have had at least the decency to bury them together.
We believe she had to be a sex worker. And then the question came up, how did the toddler get involved?
You get called to do a trick and you have no one to watch the baby. It's not unlikely taking the baby with you, or maybe having a significant other come with you to watch the baby while you do the trick, and then go home. With the serial killer, no one's going home.
But there were still other theories to consider.
Why are you assuming that she was a sex worker?
Maybe she's not a sex worker. Maybe it's more of a relationship. Could this be Lisk's own wife, who had uncovered her husband's dark secret, and a child would become a liability? Whatever the truth, it was becoming even harder to imagine the kind of monster we were dealing with. It's July 9th, 6 weeks into Lisk's hunting season. As Rachel and I continue to revisit his dumping grounds, a number of questions keep coming up. Namely, how did this killer leave 10 bodies along this highway without getting caught?
She starts slowing down for a little bit.
There's not many roads like this out in this area. There's lights on other parts, but this section has no lights. We're waiting for a car to appear in that rearview mirror, and then we're measuring how long it would take for that car to kind of really get close.
I see some. It's starting.
Still got a little time. Still got time.
Over a minute.
Now he's getting close.
Yeah, so minute 15, really.
And that's that car right there.
That's plenty of time.
Absolutely. The killer knew this area really well. Another question we had is, why were 4 of these women found whole and wrapped in burlap? Where is she, Rach?
Here. This is where Megan Waterman was found.
Son but not forgotten.
Your spirit lives within me.
The GB4 are all carefully laid out on the same strip of road.
It's right here.
They are carefully wrapped into burlap.
So this is Marine.
This one was, again, 500 feet from the other one, right?
This is a trophy collection.
So this is
Melissa.
So this is the cross of Amberlynn Costello. This is Kim's sister. That's all that's left. And one last question. Why were some victims like Jane Doe number 3 found dismembered? So, Peter, what do you think?
There is a theory that he became comfortable with killing and got too lazy to dismember his victims. The theory is very far-fetched. The GB4, this is collection behavior. This guy is a collector. The other cases, this is a sadist, an extreme sadist. 2 different cases, 2 different personalities. You're not dancing with one serial killer. You're dancing with 2.
Why had some of the victims along Ocean Parkway been dismembered others not. According to profiler Peter Brent, this was evidence of two different signatures, meaning two different killers. And while this theory may seem far-fetched, the number of killers has been the subject of an intense debate among Suffolk County law enforcement.
The facts of the case indicate one serial killer. I very, very much disagree with that theory. I would never even discuss this publicly, except I think that the facts do not bear out a single killer theory at all. We have no clue at this point.
The Suffolk County Police Department has a very controversial history. What happens in the police force is really a function of what happens politically in Long Island, and you had a DA who was at odds with the commissioner because they're from separate political factions. They warred openly about it.
So you believe personally that it's one killer, right? Yeah, it's just, it would be too much of a coincidence that we had 2 or 3 killers dumping bodies in the same place. There are lots of places in Suffolk County, in New York, that you can dump bodies. Why Gilgo Beach?
But many are unsatisfied with the single killer theory, including Timothy Bolger, who's been covering this case since Megan first disappeared. Bolger believes the evidence to prove there's more than one killer lies not in Gilgo Beach, but over 40 miles away in the dark pine barrens of Manorville.
So here we are on Halsey Manor Road. As you can see, there's really not a whole lot around here except for trees and bugs and hiking trails. This is about as desolate as it gets between here and Gilgo.
We're looking for the spot where 8 years before the Gilgo case broke, residents made a horrific discovery.
Tonight, Suffolk County Police have a murder mystery on their hands. Police say a Manorville woman was walking her dog when she came across the body. The partially decomposed body had been decapitated and both hands were amputated.
This is where she was found, laying on top of the sticks and also on top of a piece of plastic. The cops had tried to ID her by releasing a photo of her tattoo, which had been sliced up by the killer. He tried to gouge it out so much they had to push the skin together to try and read it. Eventually, cops were able to piece it together with this and Remy's Angel.
Remy's Angel was a 20-year-old sex worker named Jessica Taylor. Police believe she was last seen working the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City just a week earlier.
Police didn't get a whole lot of cooperation out of her family. All we have is arrest records. It's really sad.
And who was Remy?
Remy, we believe, was her boyfriend.
Is that it there?
There we go.
But the woods of Manorville would reveal an even darker mystery.
Why do you think the guy chose this spot?
Look at it. I mean, there's nothing around here. Notice the lack of any streetlights.
So this is Mill Road.
Yep. And this is not far from where Jane Doe number 6 was found.
In the year 2000, less than a quarter mile away from where Jessica Taylor's body was found, a group of hunters discovered a female torso. She is known as Jane Doe number 6, and she too was found nude and wrapped in plastic. And while there's little doubt this was the work of the same killer, dubbed by the Long Island press the Butcher of Manorville, the cases would still go cold. That was until Suffolk County PD made a shocking connection.
The remains that we found are the head, hands, and forearm of Miss Taylor.
A second set of remains was found in a plastic bag.
We have determined that these remains are of a Jane Doe number 6.
The discovery of these two women at Gilgo Beach has led to one of the most important questions of this entire case. How did the missing remains of Jessica Taylor and Jane Doe number 6, first found in Manorville, suddenly end up more than 8 years later and over 40 miles away as part of the carnage of Gilgo Beach?
The question of why body parts from 2 victims, first found in Manorville, were also found 8 years later in the same dumping ground used by Lisk has led Rachel and I back to web sleuth Peter Brent, and to an answer neither of us were prepared for.
There are two different serial killers around. One we know as Liz. The other one is a torso killer. That's a quite rare breed, and it's a quite nasty breed.
According to Peter, torso killers dismember their victims and stage their body parts in places where they're easily found as a form of statement.
This guy is an extreme sadist because he starts to dismember his victims alive.
But why would body parts from Manorville suddenly start showing up at Gilgo Beach?
The problem with torso killers is they are very, very territorial. They hate if someone steals their thunder. If there is a new kid on the block and has all the media attention, they normally leash out. And they respond first by throwing body parts from their old victims into their competitor's trophy garden. Giving a challenge for Liz.
Maybe Peter's imagination had finally gotten the better of him. Or maybe there was some truth in all this. That these two killers really were locked in competition. And the Manorville butcher was sending a secret message to Liz. That Long Island was his hunting ground. But what's truly terrifying is that this isn't the first time such horrors have happened here. Between 1989 and 1993, Joel the Ripper Rifkin is believed to have murdered 17 sex workers while living in his mother's basement in East Meadow, Long Island. But back then, Rifkin wasn't the only monster roaming the dark corners of this suburban wasteland.
42-year-old Robert Shulman, mail handler at the Hicksville post office, has been charged with murdering and dismembering two prostitutes whose bodies found in Suffolk County. It
appears coincidental at this time that Mr. Rifkin was operating at the same time as Mr. Shulman was engaged in similar activity.
With Rifkin and Shulman both using the suburbia as their dumping ground in the 90s, and now Liskin the Manorville butcher roaming the island today, it's a disturbing reality that begs the question, what's wrong with Long Island? And why does it seem to breed so many serial killers?
And this is Long Island, New York, a community designed for modern living.
For more than 50 years, the island has cultivated the perfect image of the American dream. And it all began here, in Levittown, the nation's first mass-produced bedroom community. Having been born on Long Island, I couldn't help but wonder, is this what happens when we try to whitewash our everyday lives? When we spend our days trying to keep up with the Joneses?
It's this really densely populated area that's right on top of New York City, but almost everybody commutes outside of there to work. It's a place to try and climb your way up the New York ladder. There's so many people that it's like living in a pressure cooker.
The truth is, every community has a dark side, where killers like Rifkin and Shulman lurk in the shadows, waiting to strike. It's this reality that's compelled us to delve further into the Manorville butcher. Rach was doing some research, looking at the Long Island Press, this article, Long Island's Other Serial Killer, which mentions Jessica Taylor.
Lil White.
Jessica Taylor was and still is my first love, and every day is still hard for me to live knowing that some monster took her away from me. Please don't let her case go cold.
We know so little about Jessica Taylor. And this person not only knew her, but really, really loved her. I mean, I would love to talk to him.
But we soon learned there was more to Khalil's relationship with Jessica than he let on. Khalil didn't just love Jessica. He was also her pet. While researching an article on the Manorville butcher, a comment caught our attention from a man named Khalil who claimed he had information about Jessica Taylor, which has now led to a mysterious meeting in the Bronx.
So what do we know about this guy? He was probably her pet. Is he Remy? I think so. I will meet you at Hudson Point, then you can follow me back to the place where we can talk. I mean, I do have to say I'm a tad bit nervous about meeting some stranger and then having him take us back to the place. There's a go-kart there.
See. David Khalil and Josh. That's our production van.
All right, well, we down the street right here.
Okay.
Gonna follow us.
Right behind
I'll
that.
stay outside until you see.
It turns out the place Khalil was taking us to was a park a few blocks away.
Can we talk right here?
And waiting for us were more of his bodyguards.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
So that's why my criminal right.
Okay. So you're Remy.
Jessica gave me the name Remy. She thought it fit me, so my name became Remy Red. And shortly after that, she got the tattoo.
I didn't mean it.
I'm a gang leader, and I seen her with some of the fellow gang members. I just had to talk to her. So next thing you know, I'm out there being protected. And money came fast and came good, and we decided let's just keep it up.
But Khalil and Jessica's escorting business took an unexpected turn in 2003 when Jessica was arrested in Washington, D.C.
They told her that if we catch you in D.C., we're going to lock you up. So she took one of the cars and went back to New York City.
Now, they said she disappeared from Port Authority.
No. Because she was on a program called Operation Spotlight,
Uh-huh.
which means after your third arrest, you can't get caught out there at night. She would have been too nervous. She was able to do Queens with no problem. So I told the police, I don't believe she got taken from Midtown. I believe she got taken from Queens Plaza. And they didn't want to hear it.
This was the second mention of Queens. The first was when a man we believed to be Lisk told Sarah Carnes that victim Maureen Brainerd Barnes was also in Queens. Was this just a coincidence or further evidence that Queens was somehow connected to this case? But this wasn't Khalil's only revelation about Jessica Taylor.
They told me that they found her remains, and she was wrapped up in a burlap sack.
She was wrapped in a burlap sack in Manorville?
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody has ever heard that.
That was the first time I ever heard of burlap. I kept Googling it to see what it was, and then I seen what it was, and I was like, oh, it's a potato sack. I just couldn't stop thinking about that. Like, what is a burlap sack? Why would they use that?
Khalil's mention of burlap is a potential bombshell. The first 4 women found on Gilgo Beach in 2010 had all been wrapped in burlap.
All these young ladies fit into a bag of this size.
And now Khalil was saying that Jessica was found in similar fashion in Manorville.
Jessica Taylor found wrapped in burlap. That does place it as the same killer. But wait a second. All the police, all the reports, it said black plastic sacks.
Are you sure?
Yes.
That would lead me to believe that Khalil is misremembering. But it was pretty convincing, which leads me to think there's something more to the burlap sacks.
Yes. Totally.
We tried to confirm Khalil's mention of burlap, but again the Suffolk County Police wouldn't comment, which meant we couldn't rule out one killer. Our only recourse to go back to the unidentified victims we hadn't looked at, to see if their cases might reveal their killer, which left one more victim, the outlier, the only body discovered belonging to a man.
Looking at these victims, each has revealed clues as to their killer. First, the GB4, whose bodies were all intact and wrapped in burlap, indicating one signature. Then Fire Island Jane Doe and Jane Doe number 3, who were both dismembered, and who, along with the toddler, were scattered along Ocean Parkway. Also dismembered were Jessica Taylor and Jane Doe number 6, found both here and in Manorville. All evidence of a second signature. And now it's time to examine the outlier, the only John Doe, Asian male.
One male body was found among the 10. Police also revealed that he may have been working as a cross-dressing escort.
On April 4th, 2011, Asian male was found dumped a short distance from the GB4. It's suspected the killer picked up the cross-dressing escort, and after realizing he'd been tricked, savagely beat him to death. We posted to Web Sleuths, and days later received a reply from Carl K90245 with a promising lead.
How did you get into this?
I was employed at Disney and I got laid off. Simultaneously, I realized I needed to stay home and be a full-time caretaker for my mother. That left me on the computer quite a bit, and I came across the forum on Web Sleuths about the unidentified. Part of what I do now is facial reconstruction.
So have you yourself actually made a match?
I've made 4 matches now, the most recent being a girl named Tammy Jo Alexander.
You seem to have a good potential on Asian male.
There is a young man by the name of Mo Zhang. His height is right, his age is right, his facial shape is right.
We're looking at this GIF you made. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it aligns almost perfectly.
Carl's match for the Asian male is a 17-year-old runaway named Mo Zhang from Yorktown, Virginia.
I turned in the tidbit, called in and said, hey, I think, Mo Zhang might be your Asian male. And, they're taking this seriously enough to go the extra mile and go out and try to contact the family.
That's not going the extra mile. That's just trying to find out whether this guy is the right guy.
Agreed. Maybe Mo Zhang's name is deep down underneath a pile of 1,000 other similar calls.
I think that we should call the detective in Yorktown. After weeks of trying, we finally got in touch with the detective who'd handled Mo Zhang's case.
He was a foreign exchange student. He walked away from like a church lock-in or something.
Huh.
And was just never seen again. He was due to fly out with other exchange students. He left without his passport.
Right, and no DNA that we can match with this skeleton.
We don't have any DNA now. Our case is actually closed now as unfounded because he's an adult now and he's not a runaway anymore.
Obviously, it could still be the same person that they found.
Yeah, it could be.
Without a DNA sample to compare, we would never know if Mo Zhang was Asian male. Yet Carl's gift still gave us hope that he had made another match. But there was still one nagging issue. Who was it that killed Asian male? It was a question we debated among our team.
I think it's unlikely that the Long Island serial killer killed him because the Long Island serial killer is extremely meticulous and stalks his victims. He would know all about. That's part of his whole MO.
But he wasn't dismembered. He was just beaten to death.
The Manorville butcher he enjoys dismembering, so that's part of a pleasure thing for him. So when, the Manorville butcher realized he wasn't female, he's not going to spend the time to enjoyably dismember him. It's kind of proof of this territorial behavior. The idea that the Manorville butcher is literally driving along this road and tossing body parts. And to put the Asian male there is the biggest insult there is. A male.
Sex normally is a hallmark of a torso killer. Territorial behavior. What he does here is a statement. I am here. I will be here, and you can't do nothing about it. The problem with torso killers is they sometimes get too angry. In the case of a torso killer, angry means lethal.
As Peter would explain, this competition went far beyond bragging rights. These two killers were now playing the most dangerous game there is.
So you're saying that the torso killer is trying to hunt Lisk?
It wouldn't be the first. Jack the Ripper had competition of that kind in the Long West End.
It's not without precedent
about a month after the first known Jack the Ripper killing. The papers were really starting to turn up, like there's a madman loose. And then whammo, someone dumps the torso at Scotland Yard. There's a school of thought that it was somebody who was reacting to Jack the Ripper's killings.
Some experts believe the Ripper killing stopped because Jack finally met his match, a torso killer, just like the one we were dealing with in Manhattan.
It's like a chess game. It's a Long Island, sehr big Turkeys. I'm not really sure how this will end.
And if the matter we were trapped really was hunting Lisk, then finding one killer might lead to the other. Or as Peter would say, to find the hunter, we must first find his prey. Knowing that Lisk liked to peruse Backpage and talk to his victims, we decided it was time to look into his hunting ground. Filmmakers seek escort for documentary.
We're looking for escorts who think they may have come across a Long Island serial killer.
We have information as to whom we believe this individual is, and are looking for someone to confirm based upon specific details. We knew that Lisk would be looking at Backpage. We knew he would see this ad. What we didn't know is that we were about to cross a line, one that would stretch far beyond Long Island. A line that intersected with others in small towns and in big cities across the country to create the killing season. Next time on the killing season.
I hope you will listen.